Hi there, it's Melissa and I'm back today with another video. That's right, 2 days in a row. This one is also with my Mayhip kit, and I had this beautiful paper from Pink Fresh Studio and I just love it. It's got amazing sentiments on it. When I saw it, I knew I had to do something special with it, so I decided to hand stitch around the words. At this point I thought about doing all of the words, but I had a bit of trouble colour matching my embroidery thread. So what I did was decided to do just one of the letters on camera for you. So I've gone with that pale pink. And the reason I've had trouble colour matching is because I couldn't get to my threads that were in my little girl's bedroom. And I think Ava was sleeping. So I used these ones that all came together. And so I was quite limited in the colours. So as I made it, I realised that it looked better not having them all stitched, and it gave it more dimension on what was otherwise a very flat piece of paper. And I decided that because this is quite intensive, and I wanted it to stand out as being a feature aside from the photo, I have kept my embellishment quite minimal. Well, for me anyway. I love embellishing, as you know. So I'll explain that when I get to it. But here I'm just showing you how I hand stitch. So that's it there. And it wasn't intentional, but I've done every second word. So I'm just trimming off that branding strip, and I had to flip it over to work out where the actual line was. Couldn't be bothered pulling out the arm on my trimmer to measure the 12 by 12. So I got the cardstock add-on and I wanted to use up some of it, and I found that this one needed something to, I guess, stop your eye from wandering off the page. So here I've trimmed off a little bit of the top and the side, and it was a bit crooked here. I think because of the dimension of the knots on the back from the stitching, I wasn't that happy with the way I cut it, but I'm not into perfection, so yeah, it works out. And then I decided that I wanted to make the most of those words and have my photo on the right, like completely flush against the edge, and so that's what I'm checking now. I pulled this doily from my stash, and I didn't want too much underneath my photo because I didn't want it to get too far in to covering the words. And so here I'm just showing you how I'm positioning that flush against the edge as well, so that you only see the yellow cardstock on 3 of the sides. So here I am positioning my doily. I was so happy with it, I didn't want to move it, so I've just lifted it and glued it. And then adding some double-sided tape where you won't see it from under the photo. And I make sure I put that double-sided tape where the solid part of the doily is. Just added a little bit of glue on the edge, and then I was about to trim it off, and I thought, no, I think I'll just fold it over to avoid an odd edge, if that makes sense. So just using some washi tape there to adhere it, and I'm happy with that. So now I needed something to separate the white background of my photo from the white doily, because there is a lot of white going on in this layout. So I pulled this, I think it's Amy Tangerine, I love it, and it's begging to be fussy cut, but I was willing to sacrifice a corner of it, and I had never intended to use either sides of this paper as a full sheet anyway, and I love how that looks. It just ties together the pink and the white, and it's quite subtle. So if you have patterned papers that have an obvious pattern on them, if you cut them small enough, you can use them as a mat and you'd never know what was on that. So it's a good tip if you have papers you don't like with a pattern you don't like. Don't think of them as a full sheet, cut them down and just think of them as the colour. But I love that flower piece and I will definitely be cutting apart. So here I've popped my photo up on foam because otherwise, like I said, it is a very flat page, and these are the most beautiful thickers I think I've ever seen. I think they're exclusive to the kit, and this is documenting my 40th birthday, which was in April, and at this point I wanted to lift the @ off, but it was stuck, there was no way. So it was quite difficult to decide where to put a title for this layout because the paper is words, and I didn't want it to get lost, so I thought that on the side of the photo there was probably the best position. So now these are exclusive die cuts or ephemera, and so I'm just positioning them where I think I want them. Did think about putting something there, but as you'll see, my journaling will go there. Just skipped ahead there, I'm not sure why, but all I did was put down that puffy sticker little banner of crosses and the bird, and glued down or adhered those feathers, just pop them up with pop dots. And now just moving on to my journaling, and I'm talking about how I don't know where the last 10 years have gone, but in saying that, I've got my business and 4 children, my oldest of which is 10. So I guess that, and a house as well, which I guess tells me where the last 10 years have gone. So the only thing that's not Hip Kit or Pink Fresh is that little puffy sticker camera, and that's from Dear Lizzie. And then I decided to add this little scalloped border underneath the word love. Also, I should say, actually, there is that little floral in the O on love. That's also Dear Lizzie. And I think the stars might also be Dear Lizzie. So that's my final layout. I'm so happy with how this one turned out, and I'm so glad that I, for once, kept this paper for me, because Azaria was eyeing it up for her. But then she told me I could have it, so that was very kind.